Hi everyone, welcome to another video. We are working on the first of 3 videos. This is going to be a series on operations with polynomials. So this first video we are going to add and subtract polynomials, and then in the future we're going to learn how to multiply and divide using long division. Okay, so for our first video, let's do some adding and subtracting. Zoom in, we're going to talk about a few steps that you can follow in case you forget, and then we will try some practice together. Okay, so the first step when we are adding some polynomials, remember polynomials are expressions with more than one term. So this is a polynomial right here, and this is a polynomial right here. These specific ones are binomials because they have 2 terms, but we could have polynomials with even more terms, just like down here. I'm going to start with a simple one though for our steps. Okay, so the first thing is to distribute the negative sign if you're subtracting. So for this specific example, we're adding, but just know if you are subtracting to make sure to distribute that negative to everything in the second term or anything in the term after the negative sign. Okay, so we're good on that one. Use shapes, lines, or highlights, basically whatever you want to use to mark like terms. So this is just a tip from me. You don't have to do this, obviously, but it just helps stay organized if you're adding polynomials that are really, really long, excuse me, so that you don't lose track. So what I'm going to do is use 2 different colors, actually 3, because I have 3 different types of terms here, and I will mark what terms are like. So the first type of term I see are x squared terms. So I'll start with blue for that one. I'm going to go through and see, okay, and then I also have that one is an x squared term. Next one I see is just a constant or a number, and I don't see any other ones, okay, so I'm not going to add that to anything. And then last one is an x to the 3rd term, and it's the only one. I don't have any other x to the 3rd terms. Okay, so now when I start adding and subtracting, I can clearly see which terms I'm going to add and which ones I am not. So it says combine like terms and write your answer in standard form. So really what I mean here is you're going to write your answer so that your first term has the highest value exponent, and then your last term is either a constant like this or just the variable with the lowest or least value for the exponent. So when I add these together, I'm going to do that here. I'll do it in the colors just to make sense. So I'm going to do 3x squared minus 2x squared. I'm going to do just the x to the 3rd because we didn't have any like terms. And then we have that minus 4. Okay, so to write this in standard form, I'm going to write this x to the 3rd first. That's the highest exponent I have. Plus, and then when I combine these right here, this is a 3 minus 2, so I have 1 left, so plus x squared. And then I just have that minus 4 at the end. So I have successfully added these polynomials. Okay, so just to keep in mind, when you see directions on a problem, you may see the directions say add or subtract, but you might also just see simplify. So what we're really doing here, since there's no equal sign, we're not solving these, we're just simplifying them. Let's try the first one. So we're going to start small, and then we are going to try with some bigger ones. You'll see we're going to have a really big one at the end. Okay, so 2 binomials again. Let's try this out. I've got x to the 3rd term, so I'm going to remind myself those are added together. I've got 2 constants. Those are going to be added together. Okay, so let's start with the highest exponent first. So I've got a negative 6 and a positive 4. So when I add those together, that's going to give me negative 2v to the 3rd. Okay, and then when I add these 2 constants together, they're both positive. So I'm going to have plus 9. So that is completely simplified. All right, next one. And don't forget, guys, if I ever go too quick, just pause the video. Next one, I am subtracting. So I'm going to rewrite this. Minus 4, and make sure that both of these, I've distributed the negative. So when I distribute the negative here, it's going to make that positive. Just like that. So that way you don't mess up whether something's positive or negative. Okay, so I see k to the 4th terms, and I see constants again. So a negative 4 and a negative 3. So when I add these together, again, I'm going to start with those k to the 4th terms. 8 plus 5, that's going to give me 13. So 13k to the fourth. And then these two terms added together is going to give me -7. So that's my final answer for that one. Okay, let's try out some problems with a little more terms. And we have more than one variable here too. So we are subtracting. Instead of rewriting for this one, just because I have a lot of terms here, I'm just going to go through and distribute that negative. So this first term is going to be negative, this one's going to be positive now, and this one's going to be positive now. Okay, so I can almost ignore those parentheses now. So I'm going to go through and see what kind of terms I have. Looks like I have some m squared n squareds. I have 1 with m to the third, and then I also have these terms with just m squared. So now I can see clearly with colors which terms I am adding together. I know this term's going to go first because I have that m to the third, so I'm going to write that one first. I'm not adding it to anything. And then my next terms are my m squared n squareds. I've got a -1 and a -3. That's going to be -4. And then last terms I have a 5m squared and a 6m squared. That's going to give me 11m squared. Okay, so still a polynomial, but we have simplified as much as we can. Okay, number 7. Also subtracting, so I'm going to go through and change my signs to the opposite. So it looks like we're actually adding all of these since they were negative and we were subtracting. All right, let's go in with my colors. I've got some y to the thirds. I've got, looks like x to the first, and then just one term with x squared, y squared. Okay, so again, looking to see which exponent is the highest or the greatest value. That's y to the third. I've got a 3 and a 7, so that's going to be 10y to the third. My next ones are going to be in yellow, so plus 3x squared y squared. And then the last one, I've got a -4 and a +2, so that's -2x. All right, last one, we are going to add and subtract 3 polynomials. So you'll see there's 3 sets of parentheses here. So it might take you a little longer to jot this down. You might want to pause the video if you're copying this down along with me. But let's simplify. So I see there's a subtract in front of these parentheses. So I'm going to go through and change all of those signs to the opposite. And then I'm going to go through and use my colors. It's definitely going to help with a longer problem like this. So let's see, I've got x to the third first. So I'm going to underline all x to the thirds. Okay, there's 3 of them. Next one, I see x to the fourth, y to the fourth. Got 3 of those. Okay, let me change my color. We've got constants, so just a number. 2 of those. And my last one, I've got a 4th color here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, we've got an x to the third, y squared. Okay, so let's start with the highest exponent first. It's that x to the fourth, y to the fourth. I've got 1, 2, 3, and all of them are 7. So I've got 21 total. The next ones look like the x to the third, y squared. So we've got just one of them, plus 4x to the third, y squared. Next highest is my x to the third. So I've got a -x to the third and a positive 3x. So that's going to be, let me make sure I'm adding these together correctly. So -1, positive 3, so that's 2. And then last ones are my constants, plus 5. If it helps, guys, another just trick that I know a lot of students like is as you add them together, to cross them out. That way you keep track of which ones you've dealt with and which ones you haven't. And you know what? Now that I'm doing that, I found the one I missed. So I've got a 2x to the third here that I need to add to this. So that's going to become 4x to the third. So see, crossing them out helps. That way you keep track of which terms you have used. Okay, so I'm glad I fixed that. Thanks for watching, guys. The next video, we are going to multiply our polynomials.